We know that the four elements of the marketing mix, price, product, place, and promotion, work together to create a product offering that is both acceptable and appealing to consumers. However, marketers that wish to target the bottom of the pyramid market segment have to make a pretty dramatic shift in the ways that they position each of these components to appeal to those consumers. So today I'll be going over everything that's included in bottom of the pyramid marketing, as well as some real life examples of successful marketing strategies in this area, some ethical concerns, and then finally my personal recommendation for anyone wishing to market to this segment. So first we need to determine what it means to actually market to the bottom of the pyramid. So the bottom of the economic pyramid is a classification of low-income consumers who survive on less than $2 a day. Currently, the bottom of the pyramid includes about 4 billion consumers across the world, but over the next 4 decades, this number is expected to grow to 6 billion. So in order for businesses to reach these consumers effectively, they need to be very conscious of the ways that they are marketing and more specifically pricing their products. So no longer can they attempt to set prices as high as consumers are possibly willing to pay. Instead, their focus needs to be on just barely covering the cost of production. So the key here is not to have a high profit margin, but instead to have an incredibly high level of market penetration. So in order to lower their product costs, marketers must design packaging so that the products can be bought in as small sizes as possible. Additionally, much of BOP marketing is centered around innovative product distribution and around educating consumers about the reasons why and how to use their products. So marketing plans can't be as simple as just putting a product online or on a store shelf and waiting for someone to buy it. It's a lot more hands-on than that. In fact, a significant amount of BOP marketing involves high-touch sales in which salespeople and marketers will walk alongside the customers to help them through the entire pre- and post-purchase processes. So India has been and continues to be a significant area for marketers to use this bottom of the pyramid strategy because about 30% of India's population falls into this low-income category. As a result, P&G determines that it would be profitable for them to work on selling razors and razor blades to this market. In order to achieve this, P&G had to utilize the 4 A's of BOP marketing, which are acceptability, affordability, availability, and awareness. So this first component, acceptability, focuses primarily on how to appeal to BOP consumers. These consumers may not see a need for the product or they may not feel that it's worth paying for. And so acceptability attempts to cater to the cultural norms and the values of these consumers. So when P&G first entered the market in India, they did an extensive amount of research of about 3,000 hours to find out what the shaving patterns were of men in India. Throughout this process, they learned that these men had very little access to running water or mirrors, and so their primary goal while shaving was just to keep from cutting themselves. So P&G was able to use this information that they learned to develop a razor that could keep those needs at the forefront. The second A, which is affordability, is fairly self-explanatory. The goal of this component is just to reduce the cost of the product as much as possible, and that could be done by reducing the size of the product and the packaging or by eliminating any unnecessary product features. So by the time P&G finished developing the Gillette Guard razor, which is the razor that they sold to India's BOP market, it only contained 4 of the most basic components of the razor instead of the 25 that non-BOP consumers would usually use. The VP of Global Gillette described this process as ruthless costing, which is when the development team spent a significant amount of time going over each potentially unnecessary component and weighing the cost of that component, even down to the thousandth of a cent. So this work paid off as P&G was able to finally offer a product that cost only 34 cents. The third A, availability, refers to the goal of utilizing the supply chain in the most cost-effective way. So all of the components of sourcing and distribution and stocking had to be taken into consideration to provide a product that is both accessible and cheap. So there's little information about how P&G adapted their supply chain, but one of their competitors, Unilever, did this in a very interesting way. When Unilever introduced its detergent to India's BOP market, they actually employed a number of Shakti women who could promote the detergent. And so these women were especially qualified to do this because they were very aware of the cultural norms and the customs of the area, and so they were able to more effectively make the product available to people in that geographical region. The final A, awareness, is also very well illustrated by Unilever's marketing strategy. So this component focuses on the best ways to raise consumer awareness of the products, whether that be by offering them in a variety of areas such as NGOs, or just by educating consumers on the use and the importance of the products. So one way that Unilever did this was by educating about 300 million consumers on why it is so important to wash their hands. And so then after that, they could offer the soap to these consumers after they had reached them and educated them on that. So both P&G and Unilever worked very hard to find ways to achieve all 4 of these A's in their marketing strategies, and I believe that it worked out very well for them. Now, there's a common concern when it comes to marketing products to low-income consumers, in particular because many wonder about the morality of targeting consumers who already have barely enough income to survive. Now, I would argue that although it is very much a case-by-case basis, on the whole, companies that target the bottom of the pyramid are not taking advantage of those consumers. While those consumers do have limited resources, they also have the ultimate decision on whether or not they're going to purchase something. Marketing, as we know, does not have some sort of magical influence on consumers that forces them to buy things they don't need, but it simply opens up the option for customers to choose if and when they do so. Also, we know that while Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a really great way to depict customer needs, it is not, nor should it be, the prescription of how to make purchase decisions. BOP consumers should not be forced to only fulfill their physical and safety needs and never be allowed to reach any of those higher needs. And who are we to determine what is appropriate for someone else to buy? Additionally, the goal of many companies that target bottom of the pyramid consumers are doing so to help those consumers and offer them products that they do actually need at a cost that they can actually afford. And if 78% of the world is considered low income, we should be very concerned about helping those people. There's no situation where the top 20% of consumers should be the only ones to have access to anything more than the basics needed for survival. And finally, I would argue that BOP marketing challenges companies to be better and to innovate more and to really cater to their customers' needs. In the rare circumstances in which a company does fall on the wrong side of the ethical line, I don't believe that that reflects entirely on the BOP marketing strategy as a whole. And of course, you don't have to travel all the way across to other countries to find BOP consumers. Over half of U.S. workers and their families fall just above the poverty line. So for companies wishing to target these consumers, there are a handful of strategies that I, in my very limited experience, would recommend. Firstly, I would say that one of the most important things a company can do at the beginning is just to talk to people and listen to people who actually fall in this market segment. They need to understand the needs, the desires, and the habits of these consumers, and they need to understand which products and distribution systems are actually going to make a positive impact on the community. They can't bring their preconceived ideas into it if those ideas are going to prevent them from seeing the situation clearly. Secondly, I think that partnering with well-established retailers and organizations is key to avoiding too much risk and startup costs. Also, nonprofits and churches may be able to provide important insights into the community needs as well. And finally, companies need to prioritize having a spirit of innovation and a consumer-centered mindset. Because this is key for them to reach a high market penetration, there needs to be a great emphasis placed on offering products that will provide an actual legitimate benefit to the consumers who would otherwise be unwilling to purchase something or inconsistent in their purchase choices. So these consumers are going to take note of which products and which brands are putting their needs first. So in conclusion, the BOP market can provide a vast number of opportunities for companies if these companies can adjust their marketing strategies accordingly. In particular, they need to focus on generating acceptability, affordability, availability, and product awareness. If these companies can employ these strategies effectively and market their products ethically, I think they will be very likely to be successful in this market.